The Braves took down the Cubs yesterday, giving us a look at this fully armed and operational lineup. Yes, welcome on in to Braves Today for Tuesday, March 25th, your source of news, notes, and updates on your Atlanta Braves. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby. You can follow me on X and Blue Sky at Crosby Baseball. You can follow the show on X, Braves_today. We have a Facebook page and an Instagram as well. And you can find all of my written work, bravestoday.com. That's the Braves Today Substack, as this is both a podcast and a newsletter. And we are just like days away from opening day on Thursday. A lot of fun stuff that we have coming for you. New things coming for you. I'll talk about those probably at the start of the second segment. But yesterday, after flying out west, the Braves took on the Cubs in spring training in Arizona. And not only took on the Cubs, but took it to the Cubs. 13-4 victory for Atlanta. Game was almost never in doubt. They took the lead in the third inning and never gave it up. But we saw the opening day lineup from Atlanta in this game. So let's look at where the Braves put everybody. Is it the best decision and best place to put them? And how confident do we feel in their ability to get it done in the regular season? And this lineup is one that they've telegraphed as this is what we're going to have for the lineup. They've been doing this when all of the regulars would play in spring. This is what we've seen. Jurickson Profar is leading off, obviously playing left field. He is your switch hitter there, the top of the lineup. Austin Riley batting second. Then you go to a lefty and Matt Olson batting third. Marcell Ozuna, a righty at DH. Michael Harris, a lefty, batting fifth. Switch hitter Ozzie Albies at 6. Lefty Drake Baldwin at 7. Lefty Jared Kelenic at 8. Shortstop Orlando Arcia at 9. And I think the biggest question I have about this is, one, I didn't really think about how many lefties you were going to end up having in there, or guys who could bat lefty, right? When you count Profar and Ozzie, 6 guys who can bat from that side of the plate. I never really thought about that. But there's a little bit of question here about, is Kelenic at 8 and Arcia at 9 the best place to put those guys? I understand one of the big talking points that the Braves have had all offseason now is that we don't mind Orlando Arcia's, I'm going to call it anemic offense, when he's batting ninth. He gives us steady defense. I'll remind people he's not an elite defender, but he gives you steady, reliable defense from shortstop. You stick him in at ninth. If he's batting 200, it's not the worst thing in the world from the 9 spot in your order. And I can appreciate that is the basic type of thought process here. But at the same time, I find myself wondering, would moving Jared Kelenic, early in the year, mind you, to the 9 hole, one, give you lefty switch, lefty, righty, lefty, break that up a little bit, and then also be functionally that second leadoff man that you hear people talk about sometimes. The idea of, if he gets on, he's got a lot of guys coming up after him that can drop hits in, and his speed can end up scoring runs. I don't know if the lack of plate appearances from 8 to 9 is that severe. I'm not saying move Orlando Arcia up to 5. He batted 5th some last year. But what I'm saying is, I wonder if moving Jared Kelenic down to the 9 hole gives you more options when the top of the order comes back around and you have your best hitters up there with the ability to move them over and move them in. I trust Jared Kelenic's ability to score from first on a double. A lot more than I trust Orlando Arcia's ability to score from first on a double. And mind you, this isn't whatever decision you make on this for opening day, whether it's Kelenic at 8, Kelenic at 9, whatever. This really only matters for a month and change, right? We're looking at the first week of May for Ronald Acuña Jr. to come back. I'll remind folks, I talked about this on social media and on here. May 2nd versus the Dodgers is his goal to return. And when that happens, you're just going to bump everybody down a spot, right? The right field spot moves to leadoff. So then Drake Baldwin's batting 8th, and Orlando Arcia is batting 9th. Ronald's in front of Profar, and Profar is your number 2 hitter. Riley is your 3. Olsen's your cleanup, and Ozuna's your number 5. That's clear to me what they're going to do. Justin Toscano and I, a couple weeks ago, when he was in Northport, we talked about the preference to me was to throw Michael Harris or Ozzie Albies or somebody up in leadoff with Profar 2 so that you weren't moving where everybody was when Ronald came back. You were just taking that guy, whoever was leading off, and moving them to the bottom half of the lineup. And you were leaving everybody else where they were. Profar in 2, Riley in 3, Olsen 4, whatever. The Braves obviously decided instead of the continuity, we'll just configure what we think is the hitters in that same order at the top of the lineup. It's also hard to look at the results of the game yesterday and say that, hey, this didn't work out. Jurickson Profar, 1 for 3, scored a run. He did draw a walk as well, so he got on twice. Matt Olson, 1 for 3, 2 RBIs because he popped a home run. Marcell Ozuna popped a home run. Ozzie Albies popped a home run. This was in their 6-run 5th inning. Atlanta ends up winning 13-4, right? And it was mostly against the pin. This was a bullpen game for the Cubs, and so they tagged Ryan Presley for 2 runs. They tagged Porter Hodge for 2 runs. They tagged Ryan Brazier in 4 runs in 1/3 of an inning. They were tagging the bullpen on all of this. But I see the argument either way. I would like Kelenic to be 9. At the end of the day, I'm not sure if it really matters because this offense is going to go as far as Matt Olson and Austin Riley and Jurickson Profar and Marcell Ozuna and Michael Harris can take them. And if it actually does matter that Arcia's 8th or 9th and Kelenic's 8th or 9th early in the year, then we've got bigger problems, right? So at the end of the day, doesn't necessarily matter. In just a second, we have a rotation. Let's figure out who's going to pitch where. We'll do that next, right here on Braves Today. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Chinook Seedery. These are the uniquely flavored sunflower seeds. They are the biggest and best sunflower seeds on the market. And tons of awesome flavors here you can try. Salty sweet is the original flavor, right? Lemon pepper, jalapeno ranch, cinnamon toast. Kids love those. Dill pickle, Parmesan and pepper, Hatch chili, smokehouse barbecue. Go to ChinookSeedery.com. What's really great is you can buy the sample pack, like the sampler, so you can try all of the flavors. It's just $15. You get free shipping on that. Try them all. And then when you figured out what you like, turn around and you can either buy a variety pack where they send you some of each, or you can build your own case and customize exactly what comes in there. We can help you with that. Promo code BRAVES gets you 10% off your order and free shipping on orders over $40. So again, ChinookSeedery.com, promo code BRAVES for 10% off and free shipping of over $40. Welcome back to Braves Today. Lindsay Crosby talking about what we know about the roster configuration for opening day. And real quick, before we get into this rotation segment, the everyday viewers and listeners of this show, I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Y'all are some of the most engaged and knowledgeable Braves fans out there. And it's awesome. I also recognize that not everybody listens to podcasts every single day. And not everybody keeps up with the team all throughout the winter they check back in as the season gets here. So on Tuesday afternoon, I think I set it for 4 p.m. Eastern. On Tuesday afternoon, I'm dropping a bonus episode of the show on both audio and on YouTube called Everything You Need to Know About the 2025 Atlanta Braves. If you're a daily watcher of this show, that one's not for you. That episode is for the semi-casual fan, right, who checks back in when the season starts, and they're going to turn on the first game and be like, where's Ronald Acuña Jr.? Where's Max Fried? Where's Travis d'Arnaud? We've covered all of that in the show, okay? Again, it drops at 4 p.m. on Tuesday afternoon. You're more than welcome to watch, obviously. I would love to have you there. But if you have a friend who is a Braves fan but doesn't necessarily keep up with them all winter, and they want to be ready for the season, send them this show. Send them the Tuesday afternoon bonus episode. Tell them, hey, 30 minutes, Lindsay will go through everything you need to know. Who is Jurickson Profar? Where is Travis d'Arnaud? When is Spencer Strider and Ronald Acuña Jr. coming back? Why didn't the Braves re-sign Max Fried? We cover all of that stuff in that episode, so check that out. Again, do me a favor, send it to a friend who is a casual Braves fan who wants to be prepared for the season opener on Thursday. Speaking of the season opener on Thursday, I'm going to do something new that we've done one time on this show. We've gone live on this show one time, right? We did that after the Profar injury. Thursday on opening day, after the Braves are done with that game in San Diego, we're going to do a live show, okay? I'm going to hop onto YouTube. I'm hoping like 5 minutes after the game is done, if not sooner. We're going to go live. Probably not going to be super long, 15 minutes or so. We're going to go over what happened, what Chris Sale looked like, what the offense looked like. Something I want to try. I want to see how it does. So if you have ideas on that show, leave them in the comments on YouTube. Again, you can tweet at me or whatever. I'm on Twitter at Crosby Baseball. But I want to invite you to go ahead and say, hey, I'm watching the game on Tuesday. It's opening day. Everybody watches opening day. Should be a national holiday, really. But also, make plans to come to YouTube immediately after that game ends. If you're subscribed to the channel, you hit the notification bell, great, it'll tell you. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, click the notification bell so you know on Thursday when we go live to talk about the season opener. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the rotation. We know the rotation, right? We know the 5 guys who are in there. But we do have a couple of questions still, right? And the 2 questions we have are the specific order you're going to throw guys in and who's going to be your 6th starter. Because we've talked about this. And the expectation and what we were asking for was that the Braves would, in fact, when we thought we were going to carry Ian Anderson, we said also carry AJ Smith-Shawver's your 5th starter. Ian Anderson is in your pen as your long man. Instead, they traded Ian Anderson. Okay? And so the issue we have now is figuring out if they want to use a 6th starter, who is that 6th starter going to be? Are they going to throw a bullpen game in the first week of the season? Are they going to ask Jose Suarez and Enyel De Los Santos to combine to cover 5 innings of a game and then go to the pen like normal? Or are they going to throw guys on normal rest early in the season? Like, we got to figure that out. So, Chris Sale, the Thursday home opener versus the Padres. When you look at the order guys have gone in spring, for instance, March 21st, Sale and AJ Smith-Shawver both pitched that day. Okay. Ronaldo Lopez pitched the 22nd. Spencer Schwellenbach pitched the 19th and the 24th. It feels like your order here is going to be Chris Sale in game 1 on Thursday, Ronaldo Lopez in game 2, followed by Spencer Schwellenbach in game 3. Do I personally think that Schwellenbach could be better than Lopez this year? Yes. Do I understand Snit deferring to the veteran? Sure, fine, whatever. That's not a big deal. I am not worried about those 3 guys at all. And then it feels like Atlanta's going to want to do, or going to do Grant Holmes in game 4 against the Padres, and then flip over game 5 of the season, which is the opener against the Dodgers, is AJ Smith-Shawver. Okay, great. After that, what is the plan? What is the plan for the 6th game of the season? That is game 2 against the Dodgers. That is April 1st. Do you bring Chris Sale back on regular rest? Reminder, he would have thrown on Thursday. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday is regular rest. Do you bring Chris Sale back on regular rest for that? Or do you do something else there and throw Chris Sale on Wednesday the 2nd with one additional day of rest? You have an off day on Thursday. So it gives you options. And this is a question now. I legitimately think you've got to figure out, is the plan to throw Sale on Tuesday on regular rest and then bullpen game it on Wednesday? Is that maybe what you do? I'm not sure what the plan is here. I'm really curious to see how that goes and what happens. Because the original expectation we had as of a week ago was you were going to have both Ian Anderson and AJ Smith-Shawver on the roster, and you would have had that 6th starter. You option Bryce Elder down. You literally cannot call him back up in time to make that start. So what's the plan here? And I would love for Snit to tell us, right? Are you going to throw a bullpen game? Are you just going to combine an opener and a long man, Suarez and Iñigo de los Santos? Are you going to try to maybe Suarez throws one time in that first series and gets DFA'd, and they just replace him with somebody? If you replace him with somebody, it can't be Bryce Elder. You can't bring up a starter in Bryce Elder because you just optioned him down. Maybe you call up a different starter, a Davis Daniel or somebody. Maybe they call up a Jesse Chavez and ask him to eat 3 innings. But I am really curious as to what the plan is here, because it doesn't necessarily feel like your public comments about wanting to go with 6 starters and give guys extra rest whenever possible. Those comments right now, from what we know, don't mesh with the roster construction right now. You have guys that can go multiple innings. Yes. Iñigo de los Santos can go multiple innings. Jose Suarez can go multiple innings. Is that the plan? Is the plan to just combine those 2 guys, an NRI and a guy who was probably going to be DFA'd by the Angels that you instead grabbed, who has not been good in the last 2 years? Is the plan to throw those 2 guys against the Dodgers? And then at the same time, if that is the plan to do that, is this something where you are, I'm not going to say conceding the game against the Dodgers. This organization would never concede a game. These guys are too proud. They feel like they can beat anybody. But is that something where you're maybe trying to avoid, like you're not worried about we have to get our best guys available for the Dodgers in early April because it's a long season and we would rather prioritize extra rest now than getting our best starters available for the Dodgers? Part of me thinks there is a chance that Sale throws on the 1st, simply because, and I know this is not actually how they make decisions, but let me just cook here for a second. Because if he were to be on regular rest for his 3rd start of the year, that's on Sunday, April 6th at home versus the Marlins, which is the Chris Sale giveaway day. I know the marketing team is not involved in that. I know they're not involved in baseball decisions, but a small part of me thinks you throw him on regular rest for his first 3 starts, and you can let him pitch on his giveaway day. That's not going to happen. That's not the plan. But what if it's the plan? What if it's like, hey, if we can do that, great. Maybe the marketing department has a request. Hey, if it's an option, can you try to get him on that day? I don't think the team would do that. I don't think they care about, hey, we can maybe make the marketing team look better if we have Sale throw on his giveaway day. If you love conspiracy theories, there you go. In just a second, let's talk about the bullpen we have bullpen construction now. We know all of the guys. The roster is set, even though they haven't announced it yet. But what are the roles for these guys? We'll do that next, right here on Braves Today. Final segment of Braves Today. Lindsay Crosby here on Tuesday the 25th, talking about the Braves bullpen and maybe expectations for these guys in 2025. Because we knew going into the season, going into spring training, you had 4 roles absolutely set in stone and another one written in pen, right? Raisel Iglesias is your closer, okay? Pierce Johnson, Dylan Lee are likely your 2 setup men, one righty, one lefty. Aaron Bummer is I call him your fireman, your guy who's there to just get you out of a bad situation as your second lefty in the pen. Fun fact, Roster Resource from Fangraphs has Aaron Bummer as the lefty setup man and Dylan Lee in middle relief. I have that swapped a little bit. And then your guy that was in there in pen, he wasn't locked in, but in pen was Daysabel Hernandez. You were able to, Hector Neris made the team. Some of the surprising stuff, Buck Farmer did not see that coming when we reported the spring training. And then Enyel De Los Santos and Jose Suarez. I'm going to say it again. I don't know if Jose Suarez, I originally wondered if he would be the obvious DFA when Strider was ready to come back, right? When Strider is ready, maybe you move Grant Holmes into that long relief / 6 starter spot in the pen. And Strider, Smith-Shawver are in the rotation. And Holmes is that guy. They throw him like a starter, but he's officially using a bullpen spot. And then if you don't need a 6 starter for 2 weeks or something, he can work out of the pen a little bit and then go back to starting. I don't even know if Jose Suarez makes it through the opening weekend. As much as I've dug into what he does and been not well and tried to look at like film of him in spring and stuff, I don't know if he makes it out of the first weekend. The Braves could DFA a dude after game 3, right? And so I do think if that happens, obviously, like I said, you can't call Bryce Elder up yet because you have to be down in the minors for a certain number of days unless you're replacing an injured player, right? If Suarez or somebody gets hurt and goes on the IL, you can then call Elder back up to replace them. But I'm at the point of I feel good about this bullpen, and I know not a lot of people are there. And I feel good about the bullpen because Raisel Iglesias had the best season of his career last year, right? From a production standpoint, from an ERA standpoint, best season of his career. I feel really good about him there. I feel really good about Aaron Bummer and Dylan Lee. I am a little concerned about Pierce Johnson as your primary righty setup guy. To me, he's not as reliable as you would like for a setup man. I do feel like Pierce Johnson's prone to a little bit more blow-ups. If he doesn't have the curveball one day, you're in trouble because it's really the only weapon that he has. He cut back everything else. He throws it 70% of the time. If either it's not there or he faces a team that's good with curveballs, you have a problem. So I'm not sold on him being your setup man, but you have the option of you can use Hector Neris in that role. Daysabel Hernandez has promise about being able to take a higher leverage role. So I do think you have options here to take over as the righty setup man should you need to if Pierce Johnson's not able to do it. We'll see exactly what Hector Neris has. Again, he looked okay in spring. Some of the reports of the live ABs and things that he's done outside of game situations are good. So hopefully he's rebounded enough. And then, again, I do think Jose Suarez is the first guy out of the pen if you have to add somebody somewhere. He's the first guy who loses a job. And reminder, in the minors, pending an opt-out decision from Buck Farmer, that I don't believe at this point he's going to opt out, because if he would have, I think he would have had to already have done it. You've got Craig Kimbrell. You've got Buck Farmer. You've got Anoli Paredes and Wander Suero and Dylan Covey. Like, all these guys I believe Dylan Covey's still in the organization. Like, all these guys are still with the team. Jake Diekman left. But you've got a lot of these other guys in there still. So you have plenty of options. And I feel like the Suarez spot is going to be a rotating spot. That roster spot, you're going to move guys in and out. You're going to move guys in and out. I feel like the Enyel De Los Santos spot could potentially also be a rotating spot if he struggles this year. I don't think that they would love to keep him. Don't get me wrong. He's got I think he has 2 years of team control left, but he's not in any way locked in to a permanent spot in the pen. The issue you have here, same issue you had last year. The only guys down there with options are Dylan Lee and Daisybel Hernandez. At one point they optioned down Dylan Lee to Gwinnett because they had to get another reliever in the pen. So I don't think they're going to option Dylan Lee again. But Daisybel Hernandez at some point in time this year could get optioned down. If you see him go 2 or 3 innings or pitch like 3 days in a row, just know that he may be about to get moved out for somebody else, at least temporarily. And I think that's the real question is the Suarez spot, you have to DFA him to get rid of him. The Dos Santos spot, you have to DFA him to get rid of him. But Hernandez can be optioned. You can revolve 3 spots around with the understanding that 2 of those, you lose that guy if you get rid of him. So, again, I'm hopeful for the pen. It's not as good as last year's pen. Losing Joe Jimenez and AJ Minter mean this is not as good as last year's pen. But, one, that was one of the best bullpens in baseball. Whether we believe it or not, from a WAR perspective, it was like second best behind the Guardians, who were just absurdly amazing. Their top 3 guys all through 70 innings and were all gross. And we saw in the postseason what that workload meant and how their performance became gross in the postseason. But I do think that it's not as bad as a lot of people fear because if guys stumble, if Pierce Johnson stumbles as a setup man, if Hector Neris doesn't have it, if Jose Suarez can't fix it, whatever, you have answers to fix that. And you can get the pen. You can do roster moves and get the pen to a good place by the time you're at no later than the midpoint of the year. You can get the pen to a good place. So I'm not as worried about the bullpen as a lot of people are, but I understand I'm in the minority here. I tend to be optimistic versus pessimistic about some of these things. So that's where I'm different from everybody else. Let me know what you think. I'm on X at Crosby Baseball. Braves_today is the show. You can email us, contact@bravestoday.com. I want to hear from you. In the meantime, go listen on audio. Do us a favor, leave us a 5-star review. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when we drop that next episode. And again, send this afternoon's bonus episode out to a casual Braves friend of yours so that they can catch up and be ready to go for opening day. Until next time, this has been Braves Today.